Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. We're continuing with IGCSE 0580 May-June 2025 exams. This is paper 2, weighted 1. As you know, this is a non-calculator paper and this is part of extended maths. So this is the second time you were tested on non-calculator for paper 2 and paper 1. So let's see what came in this paper, whether it was overall easy or difficult. Throughout this video, I'll be sharing tips and tricks which can help you in solving this exam without the need of having a calculator. And if you want to access the other papers, you can check on the link above. It has all of the papers for IGCSE Math 0580, both core and extended, with all of the weightings. So let's start with this one. It says simplify 7c minus 5d plus c plus 3d. So this is like an algebra question where they're asking us to collect the like terms. So 7c and c are like terms because both the terms have the same variable and the variable is raised to the same power. So 7c plus c. And for d, minus 5d plus 3d are like terms because both have the same variable and the variable is raised to the same power. So minus 5d plus 3d. So that's 8c minus 2d. That's your answer. Then it says the diagram shows two parallel lines intersecting two straight lines. Find the values of w, x, and y. So the arrows show that these two are the parallel lines. Let me just highlight them. These are our parallel lines. And then these two are our straight lines. This one and this one. These are the straight lines. So the question says that we have to find the value of w, x, and y. So if you look at the two parallel lines, this one is acting as a transversal between both the parallel lines. And so is the other one. This is also transversal. So for the first one, if you look at this transversal, if this is x, this will also be x, which means x is 76. Now, why is this 76? It's because alternate angles are equal. These two are alternate angles, so obviously they're going to be equal. Then, if you look at w, this is w, and then this is also w. Why? Because these two are corresponding angles. Corresponding angles are also equal. Hence, w is 158. Now, talking about y, if x is 76 and this w is 158, this angle is going to be 180 minus 158. Why? Because the parallel line is a straight line as well. Sum of angles on a straight line is 180. So if we subtract 158 from 180, that gives us the remaining angle, which is going to be 22. So this is 22. So now if we mark this with a different color, we can see that we have a triangle and sum of angles in a triangle is also 180. So to find y, we can just subtract 76 and 22 from 180, and that is going to give us 82. So y is 82, x is 76, and w is 158. Then this is Sally invests $1,500 at 3% per year simple interest. Work out the total value at the end of 6 years. So simple interest has the formula of principal amount times the rate of interest times the time period. So first we'll find the interest that she's getting on 1,500. So 1,500 times 3 over 100 times 6. The zeros get cancelled out. 15 times 3 is 45, and then we do 45 times 6, which is going to be $270. Now, $270 is just simple interest. So total value is going to be interest plus the initial amount. So 1,500 plus 270, and that is $1,770. That is the total value of your investment at the end of 6 years. Then work out 5/6 minus 2/3 times 3/8. So you can first multiply the fractions, because if you follow the rules of BODMAS, multiplication comes before subtraction. So 5/6 minus, we can cancel out the 3's because 3 divided by 3 is 1 and 2 divided by 8 is 1/4. So minus 1/4. It's always advised to simplify first and then solve, because that makes your calculation less confusing. Now, whenever we're adding or subtracting fractions with unlike denominators, the first step is to make the denominator same. So to make the denominator same, we can multiply the second fraction by 6 and the first fraction by 4. This way, we get a common denominator of 24. So 5 times 4 is 20 and 1 times 6 is 6. It's very important that you multiply both the numerator and denominator by the number, not just the denominator. If you only multiply the denominator by the number, your answer would be incorrect. So 20 minus 6 is 14. 14/24 can be simplified to 7/12. That is your final answer. Then it says the interior angle of a regular polygon is 150 degrees. Find the number of sides of this polygon. So for this, you need to know the formula for each interior angle of a polygon, sum of interior angle of a polygon, each exterior angle, and then sum of exterior angles. So for each interior angle, our formula is n minus 2 times 180 divided by n. N is your number of sides. So our interior angle is 150. 150 equals to n minus 2 times 180 over n. Cross multiply. 150n equals to, expand the bracket, 180n minus 360. 360 equals to 180n minus 150n. 360 equals to 30n, and 360 divided by 30 is going to give us the value of n, which is 12. So this polygon has 12 sides. So main thing is that you need to know this formula. If you know this formula, this question is very easy to solve. Then it says the line x plus y equals to 7 is drawn on the grid. On the grid, draw the line y equals to 2x plus y. To draw the line y equals to 2x plus 1, we know that this is our y-intercept. Why is this the y-intercept? Because this equation is in the format of y equals to mx plus c, which is the slope-intercept form. And c is your intercept. So one point is over here. Next, what we can do is we can plug in another value of x in the equation and find the corresponding y value. So if we put at x equals to 3, y is going to be 2 times 3 plus 1, which is 6 plus 1, and that's 7. So x3, y7, that's over here. So now we can connect the 2 points. And this is your line. Then it says use your graph to solve these simultaneous equations. So they're the same equations that we already have on the grid. So we just find the coordinates of the intersection of the 2 lines. So both the lines are intersecting over here at this point, which is 2, 5. X is written first, so x is 2, and y is written second, which is 5. So your solution to this set of simultaneous equation is 2, 5. So we just simply write the value of x as 2 and the value of y as 5. That is how you give your answer. So remember, if you have a graph and they're asking you to find the solution of a simultaneous equation graphically, so you just see where the two lines are intersecting. That is the solution to your simultaneous equation system. Then write the recurring decimal 0.26 recurring as a fraction. Give your answer in its simplest form. So for this, it has like 3 steps. And if you're aware of these 3 steps, this question is like very scoring for you. Assume that x equals to the recurring decimal, which is 0.26 recurring. So 6 is being repeated. 2 is just written once. 6 is the one that's repeated. Next, what you have to do is you have to get rid of the numbers after the decimal. So for that, what we do is first, let's multiply this number by 10. So if you're multiplying 0.26 recurring by 10, we're multiplying x by 10 as well. So 10x equals to 2.6 recurring. When you multiply a decimal by 10, we move the decimal one place to the right-hand side. That's why 0.26 recurring became 2.6 recurring. It's like this, 10 times 2.66. So move the decimal one place to the right, it becomes 26.6. If you multiply it by 100, the decimal moves 2 places to the right-hand side. So the number of places the decimal is moving depends on how many zeros there are. If you're dividing it, then the decimal moves towards the left-hand side. So that's the difference between the two things. So coming back to this, now the number is 2.6 recurring. As I said earlier, we have to get rid of the numbers after the decimal. So what we can do is we can also multiply x with 100. So 100x means it's going to be 26.6 recurring. Now this way, the numbers after the decimal are the same now for both 10x and 100x. For just x, it was 0.26 recurring. The 2 was odd over there. So by multiplying it by 10 and 100, we got rid of the 2, and now it's just 6 after the decimal. So what we can do is we can simply subtract 100x and 10x. So that leaves 26.6 recurring minus 2.6 recurring. So 100x minus 10x is 90x. 26.6 recurring minus 2.6 recurring is 24. All of the numbers after the decimal are gone, and 26 minus 2 is 24. X is now 24 divided by 90, and we can simplify this to 8 over 30. 8 over 30 can also be further simplified to 4 over 15, which is your final answer in its simplest form. So like I said, you just need to be aware of these steps. The steps are the same. The number that you multiply to x would depend on what the recurring decimal is. At times, you have to multiply 1000 as well to x, 100 or 10, depending on what it is. So steps are same. You just have to make sure that the number after the decimal are equal. Once the number after decimal are the same for both 10x, 100x, or 1000x, or even just x, then you just subtract them, the number becomes a whole number, and then you can easily make it a fraction by making x the subject of the equation. If you're someone who's still struggling with understanding recurring decimals, I'm attaching a link above. I've made a separate video about recurring decimals. You can go through those questions. I've explained in detail how to solve such questions, even though those questions are like calculator questions, but still you will get the basic idea of how to solve them because the steps are still the same. Luckily for you, they will give a very easy recurring decimal. They won't give you a difficult one. So it's going to be easy for you to simplify it. Then question 8 says that we have two vectors, vector m and vector n. We have to find 2m minus n. Very simple. Write 2 brackets 11, 5 minus vector n, which is 8, negative 3. So first, let's multiply 2 with 11 and 5, which is going to give us 22 and 10 over here, minus 8, negative 3. 22 minus 8 is going to be 14, and 10 minus negative 3 is going to be 13. So your vector is 14, 13. Simple as that. Times the 2 first and then subtract the result. You subtract x from x and y from y. You can't mix it up. Always row to row for each. Then vector 5 root y has a magnitude of 7. Find the value of y. Very good question. So magnitude is found by squaring the two numbers, adding them up, and then taking their square root. It's very similar to Pythagoras. Imagine you're finding the hypotenuse. So the formula is the same as finding the hypotenuse in Pythagoras. So over here, they've given us the magnitude, which is 7. So it's 7 equals to root of 5 squared plus root y squared. So first, I'm going to get rid of the root on the right-hand side. So that leaves us with 49 equals to 5 squared, which is 25. And square of root y is y. Then we do 49 minus 25, which is 24. So your y value is 24. So remember, magnitude of a vector has the same formula as finding the hypotenuse in Pythagoras. Question 9 says the table shows some information about the marks scored by a group of students in a test. We have the test mark and the corresponding frequency. The mean mark is 6. Work out the value of n. So this is for average. Whenever we're trying to find the mean or average for like a data set, over here we have these values. What we do is we times the test mark in this case with the frequency and then add the result. So what we do is 4 times 2, then plus 5 times 4, then plus 8 times n. And then divided by the total frequency, which is 2 plus 4 plus n. Sigma fx over sigma f. Sigma means sum. So sum of f times x divided by sum of f. This is x, this is f. So either you can remember it through this formula or like just remember that you times the two things, add it up, and then divide it by the total frequency. So mean is 6. So 6 equals to 8 plus 20 plus 8n over 6 plus n. Cross multiply. 6 times 6 plus n equals to 28 plus 8n. Expand the bracket. 36 plus 6n equals to 28 plus 8n. Collect the like terms on each side. 36 minus 28 equals to 8n minus 6n. 36 minus 28 is going to be 8. 8n minus 6n is 2n. So then 8 divided by 2 and n equals to 4. That is how you find your value of n. Then the next question says A, B, and C are 3 points on a circle with center O. DE is a tangent to the circle at A. Angle ACO equals to 35 and angle BCO equals to 40 degrees. Find angle AOC. AOC is this one. So if this is 35, this would also be 35. Why? Because OC is equal to AO, and the reason for that is that OC and AO represent the radius. Radius is any line that comes from the center of the circle and touches the circumference. So OC is also coming from the center and touching the circumference, and same for OA. So since they're both 35, triangle AOC is a isosceles triangle. So in isosceles triangle, what we can do is we can subtract both the 35s from 180 to find the missing angle, which in this case is going to be 110. Then it says angle ABC. So for angle ABC, that's this one. So if this was 110, you need to remember your circle theorems for this. Angle at the center is twice the angle at the circumference. So if angle at the center is twice the angle at the circumference, which means ABC is going to be half of 110, and that is 55. So that's ABC. Then DAC. DAC is this one. Okay. So for this angle was 55. This is 35, this is 35, and that's 40. This is 110. To find DAC, you must recall again your circle theorems, and in that, alternate segment theorem. Based on alternate segment theorem, sum of angles in this triangle is going to be 180. Because if it's a triangle, there are three sides, there are three angles, so sum of angles is 180. Similarly, sum of angles in a straight line is also 180. As you can see, both the line and the angle are sharing an angle which is angle A. This angle is common between both the line and the triangle. Hence, if this is 55, this is also 55. And this is 35 plus 40, which is 75. So this will also be 75. This is what alternate segment theorem is, where angles on a straight line, with the line being a tangent which is touching your circle, sum of angles on that line is going to be the same as the sum of angles of the triangle inside the circle, given that all the three vertices of the triangle are touching the circumference. They will have a common angle, which in this case was angle A. So the opposite angle in the triangle becomes the opposite angle on the tangent. So this, let me color code it. This is the same as this, and this is the same as this. And in the middle, the angle is common for both the line and the triangle. This is alternate segment theorem. Make sure that if you're using alternate segment theorem, the triangle inscribed inside the circle, all three vertices need to touch the circumference. If they're not touching the circumference, then you cannot apply alternate segment theorem. So DAC is also 55. Then angle OAB. OAB, this one. So we just concluded that this was 55. This was 75. Because 35 plus 40 is 75. We know this is 35. To find this angle over here, OAB, we can subtract 55, 35, and 75 from 180. That will give us the remaining angle. So we know 55 plus 75 is, so 55 plus 75 is 130. And then 130 plus 35 is 165. So we do 180 minus 165, which is equal to 15 degrees. So angle OAB is 15. So for these type of questions, you need to be very well versed with your circle theorems. Just look at the theorems and memorize what each theorem represents and when to apply each. And the diagram shows the graph of y equals to f of x and the point P, negative 2, 11. The tangent from point P touches the graph of y equals to f of x at the point AB. The values of a and b are integers. By drawing this tangent, find the value of a and the value of b. So the tangent from P touches the graph of y at the point AB. So what we can do is we can draw a line from P towards the graph. And since it's a tangent, this is where it touches the graph. So we can say that A and B are x is 1, y is 1, 2, 2. A is 1, B is 2. That is where the tangent is touching the graph. Then find the equation of the tangent. Give your answer in the form of y equals to mx plus c. So we already said that a and b is 1 and 2. And point P is given as -2 and 11. These 2 points lie on the tangent. So what we can do is we can use these 2 points to find the gradient first, and then further use that to find the slope-intercept form. So gradient of the tangent is going to be 11 minus 2 over -2 minus 1. If you're someone who doesn't know the gradient formula, that's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's the formula that we use to find the gradient of a line. So 11 minus 2 is 9. -2 minus 1 is -3. So 9 divided by -3 is -3. That's your gradient. Y minus y1 equals to m times x minus x1. I'm using the point slope form to create an equation and then simplify it and put it in slope intercept form. Point slope form is used when you have a point and a slope. We already found the slope, which is -3. And for the points, we can choose P or AB. It's ideal to go with P because in case you got your part A wrong and your AB point were incorrect, at least choosing point P will make sure that your answer is right. However, your gradient is also connected to this, so if your value is wrong, then your gradient would also be incorrect. But I think it's safer to go with information that's already given in the question rather than what you've already found, unless the question asks you to do so. So y minus 11 equals to -3 times x minus -2. So that's y minus 11 equals to -3 times x plus 2. Y minus 11 equals to -3x minus 6. Y equals to -3x minus 6 plus 11. Simplify it, -3x plus 5. So y equals to -3x plus 5 is your equation of the tangent, and this is in the slope-intercept form as identified in the question. Then it says the time spent on the internet by each of 120 adults is recorded for 1 day. The cumulative frequency diagram shows this information. Use the cumulative frequency diagram to find an estimate of the interquartile range. For the interquartile range, what we need is the upper quartile and the lower quartile. So for the upper quartile, we find 3/4 of 120, which is going to be 90. So you need to find the 90th value for the upper quartile. And for the lower quartile, we do 104 times 120, which is the 30th value. So for the lower quartile, we find the 30th value. And then we subtract those two to find the interquartile range. So using your graph, we draw a line from 30 first. So 30 is going to be, so 22, 24, 25, 26, 28, 30. This is 30. And then for 90, it's going to be 120, 40, 60, 70, 80. So for 90, it's going to be 82, 84, 86, 88, 90. This is 90. So let's draw a line. This is for 90 and this is for 30. We have 4.2 and for 90 we have 5.6. Each small box represents 0.2. So this is 4.2 and this is 5.6. So interquartile range is going to be the difference of these two values. 5.6 minus 4.2, and that is 1.4. That's your answer. Then 70% of the adults spent less than K hours on the internet. Use the cumulative frequency diagram to find an estimate for the value of K. 70% of the adults mean 120 times 70 over 100. The 0 gets cancelled out and we're left with 12 times 7, which is 84. Which means 84 adults spent less than k hours on the internet. So we go back to the graph. '84 is going to be over here. So let's draw a line from 84 So it said 84 adults spent less than k hours. So this is k. So this is going to be 5.4. So value of k is 5.4. Because 84 people spent less than k hours. So that's basically this part over here. So the corresponding time value is this, which is 5.4, and that's the value of k. Then question 13 says the diagram shows solid A and solid B. Solid A is made from a hemisphere and a cone, each with radius 6 centimeters. The cone has sloping edge of 10 centimeters. Solid B is a cylinder with radius 4 centimeters and the height 8 centimeters. The total surface area of solid A is equal to the total surface area of solid B. Work out the value of each. So we can easily find the surface area of solid A because all of the measurements are given. And then using that, we can find the value of H because both share the same surface area. So for the solid A, we have a cone, and then the base of the cone is attached to a hemisphere. So total surface area would be curved surface area of the cone, which is pi RL, plus surface area of the hemisphere, which is 4 pi r squared divided by 2. 4 pi r squared is the surface area of a 4 pi r squared is the surface area of a sphere. So for hemisphere, it's going to be half of it. So pi, radius is 6, L is 10, L is the slant length, plus 4 divided by 2 is 2, pi, and r is 6 again, so 6 squared. So that's 60 pi plus 72 pi, which is 132 pi. Now for solid B, 132 pi equals to 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi rh. This is the formula for the total surface area of a cylinder. Because the cylinder has two circular faces, hence 2 pi r squared, and then the curved surface area is 2 pi rh. So 132 pi equals to 2 pi times 4 squared plus 2 pi times 4 times h. So 132 pi equals to 4 squared is 16, 16 times 2 is 32, 32 pi plus 4 times 2 is 8, 8 pi h. 132 pi minus 32 pi equals to 8 pi h. That's 100 pi. Divide 100 pi by 8 pi to find the value of phi. The pi gets cancelled out. 100 divided by 8 is going to be 12.5. So 12.5 centimeters is your height for the cylinder. So remember, since it's a non-calculator paper, do not write the value of pi, do not convert it, just leave pi as it is because it will eventually get cancelled out. They would never give you a question where they're asked you to solve in terms of pi without a calculator. Then work out the height of solid A. So for the height of solid A, we need this entire length. All of this. So if you've noticed, radius, as I said earlier, is the distance from the center towards the circumference. So this part over here, let me just highlight this. This is also your radius, which means this is 6. So we already have a part of the height. Now we need this. So for this height, what we do is we use Pythagoras. Why Pythagoras? Because if you notice, this is a right angle triangle over here. You have the base, you have the hypotenuse, we have to find the height. So it's going to be 10 squared equals to, let me call this x squared plus 6 squared. 10 squared is 100, x squared comes as it is, and 6 squared is 36. 100 minus 36 equals to x squared, which is going to be 64. Square root of 64 is something that you should know because it's a very basic square number. That's 8. So 8 centimeters is x, which means the height of solid A is going to be 8 plus 6, and that's 14 centimeters. That is your final answer. So for these type of questions, you need to be able to recognize where a right angle shape occurs in a 3D shape and how you can use that to find the missing information. Then we have functions. F of x equals to 3x minus 4 and g of x equals to 4x plus 1. Find the value of f of negative 2. Very easy. You just replace x with negative 2 and find the value of the function. So f of negative 2 is going to be 3 times negative 2 minus 4. That's negative 6 minus 4, and that gives us negative 10. Simple as that. Then find the inverse of f of x. So for that, we first begin with replacing f of x with y equals to 3x minus 4. Right now, y is the subject of the equation. I want you to make x the subject. So for that, we move 4 to the other side. So we have y plus 4 equals to 3x. Then we divide it by 3. So as you can see, x is the subject of the equation now. Last step is replace x with f inverse x and y with x. So we have x plus 4 over 3. When we say find the inverse of something, we are asking you to find the opposite of what the equation is. So like in the equation, originally something is being added, in the inverse it will be subtracted. In the original, if something is being multiplied, in the inverse it's going to be divided. So that's exactly what happened over here. Originally 3 was getting multiplied, now it's dividing. Originally 4 was being subtracted, now it's being added. So inverse is the opposite of what is happening in the equation. Then f of gx equals to ax plus b. Find the value of a and the value of b. So this is the composite function. When you're trying to find the composite function, you replace the second function in the first one. And by that, what I mean is that if it's f of gx, I'm going to replace the x in f with gx. So f of gx looks like 3 times 4x plus 1 minus 4. As you can see, wherever there was x in function f of x, I replaced it with g of x. So instead of x, now I'm writing 4x plus 1. Now we expand the bracket. So that's 12x plus 3 minus 4. And that's 12x minus 1. They said f of gx equals to ax plus b. So ax plus b is the same as 12x minus 1, which means a is 12 and b is negative 1. That is your answer. You don't have to further solve. They already gave you the equation. You're just finding the equation using the functions, putting them equal, and then highlighting what is a and what is b. Then it says simplify 2 over f of x minus 5 over g of x. Give your answer as a single fraction in terms of x. So f of x is 3x minus 4 and g of x is 4x plus 1. So now let's use these, plug in the equation and create a fraction where there's just one single fraction. So let's just plug these in the given equation and then simplify it and turn it into a single fraction. So 2 over 3x minus 4 minus 5 over 4x plus 1. As I mentioned previously, if you're adding or subtracting fractions with unlike denominator, the first thing you need to do is to make the denominator same. And to make the denominator same, we can multiply the denominators of each fraction with the other fraction. So what we can do is we can multiply the first fraction by 4x plus 1. both the numerator and the denominator. And for the second fraction, we can multiply it by 3x minus 4. Once again, both the numerator and the denominator. Expand the bracket in the numerator. That's 8x plus 2 over 3x minus 4 times 4x plus 1. I'm not going to expand the brackets in the denominator because that's not necessary at this point. If we expand it, that's just going to waste more time, so you can leave it as it is. They'll accept this in the answer. And over here we have 5 times 3x minus 4, so that's going to be 15x minus 20. Now, next step is to put them as a single fraction and then simplify the numerator. So 8x plus 2 minus 15x plus 20 over 3x minus 4 times 4x plus 1. Since the denominators are same, we can combine it as a single fraction. 8x minus 15x is going to be negative 7x, and 2 plus 20 is 22. So this divided by your denominator, which is 3x minus 4 times 4x plus 1, and that is your final answer. This is the answer as a single fraction. It's simplified, you cannot further simplify it, and it's in terms of x. Then it is expand and simplify, so we have double brackets, and inside the double brackets we have surds. So 2 gets multiplied with 1 minus 3 root 5, and then negative root 5 gets multiplied with 1 minus 3 root 5. The expansion is pretty much the same as when you're expanding brackets with variables, but just one little step is different when you're simplifying it after the expansion. So 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 3 root 5 is going to be 6 root 5. 2 gets multiplied with the number outside the root, not inside the root. Minus 5. Minus root 5 times 1 is minus root 5. Root 5 times 3 root 5 is going to be plus 3 root 5 squared. Now, over here, if you notice, I'm multiplying the root with the root. I'm not doing anything to the root with the whole number. I'm not mixing up the root and the coefficient. The 3 is 3 and the root is getting multiplied to the root. Same case in the previous one, the 2 got multiplied with 3. Root 5 remained as it is. Now it's 2 minus. Now when you're adding and subtracting the roots, you need to remember that the root gets added or subtracted to the root, and you have to make sure that the number inside the root is the same. So the surd has to be the same. So 2 comes as it is. Negative 6 root 5 minus root 5 is negative 7 root 5 plus 3. Square of a root is the number inside the root, which is 5. So it's 3 times 5 now. So that's 2 plus 15 minus 7 root 5. And we can simplify that to 17 minus 7 root 5. That's your answer. So main thing is that when you're multiplying a number to a surd, you multiply to the number outside the surd, not inside. So nothing happens to the number inside the surd. Then if you're squaring a surd, the number inside the surd comes out as the answer. After that, if you're adding or subtracting surds, you can only add or subtract the surds if the number inside the surd is same. You cannot add or subtract a surd with a whole number. That is incorrect. So 17 minus 7 root 5 is your answer. Then rationalize the denominator. So give your answer in its simplest fraction. When you're trying to rationalize a denominator, remember, you multiply and divide the fraction by the surd in the denominator. So I just multiply and divide it by root 10. So that gives us 6 root 10, and we have square of root 10. Most of the kids say, oh, why don't we cancel it out? If you cancel it out, you're going back to the question, so nothing is happening. So the main reason behind us multiplying root 10 and dividing root 10 with this fraction is we want to get rid of the surd from the fraction. We want to make sure that there's no surd in the denominator. that can only be done if you multiply the surd to itself. If you don't do that, your answer is not going to be correct. So 6 root 10 divided by square of root 10, which is 10. This becomes a 3, this becomes a 5, because we can simplify 6 and 10. So 3 root 10 over 5 is your simplified answer. And now if you compare this with the question, there is no surd in the denominator. The surd is now in the numerator. So you have successfully rationalized the denominator. Then expand and simplify. We have a triple bracket expansion. So what you can do is you can start with expanding the first two brackets. So x times x minus 3 plus 4 times x minus 3. And this entire thing is multiplied with 3x plus 2. So that's x squared minus 3x plus 4x minus 12. And that's times 3x plus 2. Combine the like terms, x squared plus x minus 12 times 3x plus 2. Now we multiply these two brackets. So 3x times x squared plus x minus 12 and plus 2 times x squared plus x minus 12. 3x cubed plus 3x squared minus 36x plus 2x squared plus 2x minus 24. Combine the like terms. 3x cubed plus 5x squared minus 34x minus 24. That is your complete expansion of this triple bracket. You need to remember that when you're multiplying two variables, like if I'm doing x squared times x, the power is going to change. So it's going to be x cubed. But if I'm adding variables 4x plus x, now the power is not going to change. It's going to remain the same. The coefficient is changing now. So you need to be aware of this distinction that when you're multiplying variables, the power changes. And if you're adding the variables, the power doesn't change. Then it says a bag contains 6 red marbles, 3 green marbles, and 1 blue marble. 2 marbles are picked at random from the bag with replacement. Find the probability that both the marbles are green. So since it's with replacement, that means the total number of marbles are not changing in the bag. If it was without replacement, then the total number of marbles would change. So we're picking out the probability for both the marbles being green. So it's going to be 3 out of 6 plus 3 plus 1, so that's 10 marbles. And again times 3 out of 10. Since he's putting back the marble in the bag once you've taken it out, so the total number of marbles is the same. So it's 3 out of 10 times 3 out of 10, which is 9 out of 100. That's the probability. Then it says another bag contains 4 red counters and 2 yellow counters. 2 counters are picked at random from this bag without replacement now. So in this one, it's different. Now he's not putting them back once he's taken the counter out. We have to complete the tree diagram. So if you notice, the probability for picking the first counter, red is 4 out of 6 and yellow is 2 out of 6. But for the second counter now, for red, it's 3 out of 5. Why is it 3 out of 5? It's because he's already taken out a red counter from the bag. So now there is one less counter, and now there's one less counter from the total number of counters as well. That's why the probability for getting a red again is 3 out of 5. The probability of getting a yellow would be 2 out of 5 because he didn't take the yellow counter. So the number of yellow counters are the same, but the total number of counters is still one less. Now, if he's taking a yellow counter, then red counters would be 4 out of 5 and yellow would now be 1 out of 5. So that's your complete tree diagram. Then find the probability that one of the two counters is yellow. So for one of the two counters being yellow, this was 2 out of 5, this was 4 out of 5, and this was 1 out of 5. So he can either have a red or a yellow because it says one of the two counters is supposed to be yellow. And then he can have a yellow and a red. These are the possibilities that we have. So as you would know, when you're going along the branches, you multiply the probabilities. But if you go across the branches, you add the probabilities. So we do 4 over 6 times 2 over 5 for the first possibility. And for the second possibility, it's 2 over 6 times 4 over 5. So that's going to be 8 over 30 plus 8 over 30. And that's 16 over 30, which you can simplify to 8 over 15. That is your answer. Then one day, Anya runs 12 kilometers at a speed of x kilometers per hour. The next day, she walks 10 kilometers at a speed of x minus 4 kilometers per hour. Write down expression in terms of x for the time she spends running. Time is distance over speed. Since they want the time for when she's running, it's going to be 12 over x. Then write down expression in terms of x for the time she spends walking. So that's going to be 10 over x minus 4. Both the journeys have different distances and speeds, so make sure you read the question carefully. Don't make the mistake of confusing them. Then the time Anya spends walking is 1 hour more than the time she spends running. Write an equation in terms of x and show that it simplifies to x squared minus 2x minus 48 equals to 0. So the time she spends walking, so 10 over x minus 4 is 1 hour more than she spends running. So that's 12 over x. So 10 over x minus 4 equals to x plus 12 over x. Cross multiply. 10x equals to x minus 4 times x plus 12. Expand the bracket. X squared plus 12x minus 4x minus 48. Collect all the terms on one side. So 0 equals to x squared plus 8x minus 10x minus 48. And that's x squared minus 2x minus 48. Exactly the same as the equation given in the question. Now use factorization to solve the equation x squared minus 2x minus 48 equals to 0. You can use splitting the middle term or the quadratic formula, whichever is easy for you to understand. So you can use splitting the middle term or the quadratic formula, whichever is easy for you to understand. I'm going to use splitting the middle term. So x squared minus 2x minus 48 equals to 0. We multiply the quotient of x squared with the constant. So that's 1 times 48, which is 48. Now we find factors of 48. So that's going to be 12 times 4. We have 6 times 8. We have 2 times 24. And we have 48 times 1. I'm going to pick 6 times 8. Why? Because that is the set of factor which when you add or subtract gives 2. So when I subtract 6 from 8, that gives us 2. So we can easily use 6 and 8 to replace 2x. So x squared minus 8x plus 6x minus 48 equals to 0. Now we factor by grouping. We split the equation into two groups. This is one group and this is another group. Factor these two groups separately first. Between x squared and 8x, we have x common. So x minus 8 in the bracket. Between 6x and 48, we have 6 common. So x minus 8 in the bracket. Now between x and 6, we have x minus 8 common. So the other bracket, we'll have x plus 6. Which means x equals to 8 and x equals to negative 6. These are your values of x. Then find the time Anya spends running. Running, the equation was 12 over x. So that's going to be 12 over 8, which is going to give us 1.5. So she spent 1.5 hours running. Then find the value of 27 to the power of negative 2 over 3. First, let's rewrite 27 as 3 cubed. Why? Because 27 is 3 times 9 and 9 is 3 times 3. So it's 3 cubed. So 3 cubed to the power of negative 2 over 3. Now, let's make the power positive by flipping the term, like taking the reciprocal. So when you take the reciprocal, it's going to be 1 over 3 cube whole power 2 over 3. But now the power is positive, not negative. Next step is when you have a power outside the bracket and inside the bracket, you can multiply the powers. So it's going to be 3 times 2 over 3, and that is 1 over 3 square, which is equal to 1 over 9. So that's your answer. So whenever you have a fractional power and it's negative, make the power positive by taking reciprocal of the base. You're taking reciprocal of the base, so the power goes down with the base and it becomes positive. That's it. Nothing else happens to the power. And then you can change the base. If it's not a prime number, change it to a prime factor, simplify it, cancel out the powers like I have, and then you get 1 over 9. Then find the exact value of x. So this is exact values of trig functions. So over here, what you need to identify is whether we have the opposite, adjacent, or hypotenuse. We have the adjacent because adjacent is the line on which the angle lies, and the length opposite to the angle is our opposite. So we'll use tan because if you remember so, ka, do, wa, tangent is opposite and adjacent. So tan 30 equals to 6 over x. X is going to be 6 over tan 30. Now, next step is to figure out the value of tan 30 because, as you know, we can't use the calculator. So for this, you need to know the special triangle, especially the 30-60-1. So the angle ratio is 30-60-90. If the length of 30 is 1, that of 90 would be 2. And for 60, it would be root 3. Over here, we have a 6 over here. So if this is a 6, that means this is going to be 6 root 3. So in our case, tan 30 would be 6 over 6 root 3, which means x is going to equal to 6 root 3. That is your answer. So for this, you need to know about the special triangle ratios. If you don't, memorize those because you will need it over here. Question 21 says OABC is a rhombus and O is the origin. The diagonals of the rhombus intersect at P. OP is 2m, AP is n. Find in terms of m and n in its simplest form OA. So for this type of a question, you need to know what the properties of a rhombus are. In a rhombus, all sides are equal. All sides are equal. Your diagonals bisect, which means they divide each other into equal parts. So P is the midpoint of OB and AC, basically. So if AP is N, PC will also be N. If OP is 2M, PB will also be 2M. And in a rhombus, opposite angles are equal. So these are the main properties of a rhombus that need to be aware of. So now we need to find OA. This is OA. So for OA, we can say that we're going from O to P and then P to A. So OP plus PA. So OP is 2M. And since we're changing the direction of AP to PA, so it's going to be minus N. So 2M minus N is the answer. Remember, when you change the direction of a vector, like you're going in the opposite direction as that of the arrow given, you make it negative. Like basically you change the sign. If it's positive, it becomes negative. If it's negative, it becomes positive. So this is very important. Then we need to find OC. So this is OC. Let me use a different color for that. So for OC, we can go from O to P and then P to C. So OC is OP plus PC. That's 2M plus N. Since none of the arrows are changing direction, that means they'll be as it is. Next part says D is the point such that AD equals to 10M minus 3N. Show that OADC is a trapezium. So OADC is a trapezium. So we can say that this is our trapezium. This is where D is. OA is this. This is OC. OA found to be 2m minus n. OC was 2m plus n. And AD is given as 10m minus 3n. We have to show that OADC is a trapezium. So now for this shape, you need to remember what are the properties of a trapezium. In a trapezium, we have a set of parallel lines. That's the most important thing. If you don't have a set of parallel lines, then you don't have trapezium. So over here, we can see that our parallel lines are OA and CD. OA is parallel to CD. So if we prove that they're parallel, then we can say that this is a trapezium. So how can we find CD? So to find CD, we already said that PC is also N and PB is 2M. So if we go from C to A and then A to D, we can find CD. So CD is CA plus AD. Now CA would be negative 2n because we are changing the direction of the arrow, plus AD, which is 10m minus 3n. So that's 10m minus 5n. This is CD. OA is 2m minus n. If you notice, if I take 5 common over here, that's going to be 2m minus n. That's the same as OA, which means CD is basically 5 times OA. So that clearly shows that both of them are parallel because the core vector is exactly the same, which is 2m minus n. So that's your answer. Then it says a curve has equation y equals to x to the power of n plus qx squared plus 9x. dy by dx is given as 3x squared minus 12x plus 9. We have to find the value of n and q. So let's differentiate the given equation. In differentiation, what we do is, let's say we have y equals to x to the power of n. dy by dx for this would be, your power comes down, becomes the coefficient, and then you subtract 1 from the power. This is how you differentiate. Bring the power down and subtract 1 from the power. So for y equals to x to the power of n plus qx squared plus 9x, dy by dx is going to be n times x to the power of n minus 1 plus 2q times x to the power of 2 minus 1 plus 9. For x has a power of 1. So when you bring 1 down, 1 times 9 is 9. And when you subtract 1 from 1, it becomes x to the power of 0. And as you know, x to the power of 0 would be 1 because anything to the power of 0 is 1. So we don't write anything over here. 9 becomes a constant. Now this is the same as 3x squared minus 12x plus 9 equals to n times x to the power of n minus 1 plus 2qx plus 9. We can see that the 9s are same. For the 3x squared and nx to the power of n minus 1, we can put them equal to each other to find the value of n, which clearly shows that n is 3 because 3 minus 1 will be 2. And for q, it's 2qx equals to negative 12x. So x gets cancelled out and q would be negative 12 divided by 2, which is negative 6. So n is 3, q is negative 6. That's your answer. This is the same as like what we did exactly in this paper. There was a question where we were comparing two sides. And once you were done, I think it was the function one. Yeah, the composite function one. You find the composite function, then you compare it with the given equation, and then you compare the terms with x on each side and the constants, and like that gives you the value of the missing variables. Same thing over here. You compare the values with x on both sides. And when I say x, I mean x to the power of 1. Then for x squared, we compare the other two and we compare the constants. And as you can see, when we compare them separately, we get the value of the missing variables. Then work out the coordinates of the turning points of the curve. So to find the coordinates of the turning point, what we do is we put the derivative equal to 0. So dy by dx equals to 0. Why? Because at the turning point, the gradient is always 0. So we already have the equation for dy by dx. We just put it equal to 0, solve the equation, and we have the turning points of the curve. So 0 equals to 3x squared minus 12x plus 9. Now we solve this quadratic equation. We can take 3 common because all the 3 numbers come in the 3 times table. So x squared minus 4x plus 3. 0 equal to x squared minus 4x plus 3. Now I can factorize this quadratic equation using splitting the middle term or the quadratic formula, whatever works for you. I'm going to use splitting the middle term. We multiply the coefficient of x squared with the constant. So 1 times 3, that's 3. Then we use factors of 3 to replace 4. So we know 3 only has one set of factors, which is 3 times 1. And 1 plus 3 is going to give us 4. So we're going to replace negative 4x with negative 3x minus x. Everything else is the same. We're only splitting the middle term using the factors of the number. So negative 3x minus x. Now we factor by grouping. Take x common from the first two terms. So x minus 3 in the bracket. Then we take negative 1 common from the last two terms, which gives us x minus 3 in the bracket. A lot of people ask me, how can we take negative 1 common? Like, we would never realize that we have to take negative 1 common. If there's nothing common between both the terms, which was over here, x and 3, they're completely different. They have nothing in common. Every term always has 1 in common because 1 times the term will be that term. Everyone has a factor of 1. Since everything has a factor of 1, we can always take 1 common and then put the other terms in the bracket. And over here, I'll take negative 1 common because we already have x minus 3 over here. And we need an x minus 3 in the bracket as well. So to have that x minus 3 in the other bracket, we take negative 1 common instead of positive 1. So now x minus 3 is common, and the other bracket we take x minus 1. So one value of x is 3 and the other value of x is 1. We need to find the corresponding y values as well because it says coordinates. So for that, we need the equation, which was y equals to x to the power 3 minus 6x squared plus 9. So when we put x equals to 3 in this equation, y is going to be 3 cubed minus 6 times 3 squared plus 9. That's going to be 27 minus 3 minus 6 times 9, that's 54, and plus 9. 27 plus 9 is 36. 36 minus 54 is negative 18. So 3, negative 18 is one coordinate. And then at x equals to 1, y is going to be 1 cubed minus 6 times 1 squared plus 9. That gives us 1 minus 6 plus 9. That is 4. So x is 1, y is 4. That's your answer. Then simplify 2x squared plus 10x over x squared minus 25. So we see whether we can take any highest common factor common in the numerator and denominator. In the numerator, we can take 2x common. So we're left with x plus 5. In the denominator, there's nothing common between x and 25. But if we notice, we have two perfect squares being subtracted, which means we can use difference of perfect squares. In difference of perfect squares, when you're subtracting two perfect squares, it expands to a minus b times a plus b if it's a squared minus b squared. So over here, it's x squared minus 25, which means it's going to be x plus 5 times x minus 5. So x plus 5 times x minus 5. The x plus 5 get cancelled out and we're left with 2x over x minus 5. And that is your final answer. So you need to know your basic factorization. difference of perfect square, highest common factor, quadratic factorization, completing square, that's going to come in paper 4, but like still need to be aware about it. And with that, we're done with paper 2, variant 1 for extended. If you have any questions or confusions, please leave a comment below and I'll help you out. And stay tuned for the other variants and papers because I'll be posting those in the coming days. And hopefully all of them will be posted before your October-November retake if anyone is retaking the exam.